Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Gaelic Paint. This week I'm going to discuss kind of prepped it last week with a tweet, the dual club player and dual clubs. I'm not going to discuss intercounty or development squads or any of that because look, that's a different animal altogether. Um, but I think there's been a real positive push towards the dual clubs making an effort in both boards. Probably since the split season, maybe it's just more evident, or maybe I'm more aware of it. But it does seem to be a case that two clubs are prospering a little bit more now than they have in the past. Um, so, for instance, there was a tweet during the week about Aero Guinness that they're the only club to win both senior hurling and senior football in their county, and it just shows how hard it is to do. And I'd actually be thinking, no, that's actually really positive that there's a club able to do it. And yeah, it is hard. Of course, it's hard. Winning a senior county in one code is nearly impossible for 95% of the clubs in the country. Um, Not to win both of them. So you can see how why it's perceived as a really, really difficult thing. It should be seen as a real beacon of light for other clubs. So I tagged an article by in Cork about a player called Luke Casey from Bullock. Just familiar with the name because he would have played against it. He my coached a couple of years ago. Came on very late in the game after being getting guard escort from a soccer match, and was able to come on and got a goal, or he might have got two goals in that game. But he's doing something similar these days. And I suppose what I'm looking at is like, how come he can do it, and you got lots and lots of other clubs around the country who are discouraging players from playing both codes. And this man is not just playing both codes; he's playing both codes and soccer. Um, and there's a number of other players from Bullock that I've seen names on hurling this week, soccer match, soccer cup final on a Wednesday night, football championship the following week, and they're able to do it. And you go, well, one second, how can they can do that? When other players are being discouraged from doing anything bar the one code in their club. And I understand if you're one of the top 4 or 5 teams in your county with a real chance of winning senior county, yeah, you might look for that bit of commitment, okay? But I presume if you're looking for that bit of commitment, that they're also getting the best of resources available. They're getting inter-county quality resources made available to them to be better. But I also put up a tweet about the law of diminishing returns. That like when there's optimum learning, optimum development, then it starts to balance out. And that's when you got to start, right, okay, this is where we are. And once you go beyond that, it starts dipping. And what got me thinking about this was dual players in our dual clubs, I said dual clubs, that put 99% focus on one code. So they go out and they play their token gesture league games, they play their championships, but yeah, they don't really care about it. Half of the players on the first team in their priority code won't play the other code. And it just leads to kind of just, yeah, fulfilling fixtures for the sake of it. And to keep the word out there that we're a dual club. Um, and it's a bit sad and it's a bit disappointing. Um, and I suppose my question is, what's the optimal amount of training sessions for an average intermediate or junior player in a club? Like, if I do 8 sessions over the next 2 weeks, am I going to be better than the players in the club next door who only do 4 sessions because they're doing 4 sessions of football and 4 sessions of hurling? Are my 8 hurling sessions going to make me a better player and our team better than them? And the answer is no, because that's the reality that it doesn't work out like that. That um, club players, given a limited amount of availability to excel at their sport. And they're expected with the advent of professionalism to creep into the inter-county game in the late 90s, early noughties, which has just kept rolling and getting bigger and bigger. Clubs started trying to do something similar. And the expectation of players is far greater now than it ever is. That you do your 3 pitch sessions, you do your 2 gym sessions, you're eating like a bodybuilder. You're eating the best of stuff. You're looking after yourself. Your social life is none and void. You're going to bed at 10 o'clock every night. You're up at whatever time in the morning, and it's a real regimental lifestyle of what you expect from a professional athlete. And most of our players are not professional athletes, so clubs have to allow both codes to breed. And what I mean by that is something very similar, very simple. Is if you say you're a Herjul club, well, then make sure that you're allowing the weaker code to get an opportunity to be played properly. Um, I'll just, again, something that popped up during the week when I saw a match report from the Waterford senior football, and I seen the Galshare team, and there was a number of Ballygunner senior hurlers playing with them. No, they might always have played, and fair play if they did right. And I know it's easier in Waterford maybe with their split season because they have a split hurling and a split football season. You do their 5, 6 weeks of hurling, then when that's finished, they do 5, 6 weeks of football. So it's easy for fellas to jump from one to the other, probably keep a bit of or like Ballygunner to keep a bit of competitive edge to their development, so they're not just training all the time without any focus, waiting for the Munster Championship. So maybe it suits them. But what I would have saw noticed out of that is that there's just an appetite for players to play matches and to go play both codes. So obviously, all of these players played hurling and football as children. And as youths, and as they get to adult level, there's this focus. You have to concentrate on this, you have to concentrate on that. When in reality, it's nonsense. So, like, how can Newcestown, look, they're a club I'm familiar with. How come Newcestown can do 1 week hurling, 1 week football, and be able to get to a county senior football semi final and lose by a point, and after extra time, and get to draw with the finalists in the senior hurling championship in the other side. And most other clubs would be happening, oh, we're only 1 point away from getting to the county senior football final. Let's concentrate on football next year. And we'll do an extra one session of football at the detriment of the other coach. And that's generally what's started happening in clubs that they go, oh, look, we're better at this. We'll try to win that and we'll forget about the other one. But in reality, they probably need that balance of not overcommitting to one code, not making too much of a thing about the one code. So Ahabullogue are in both finals down here in Cork. Kanturk have been in both finals in the same year. Bandon have been in both finals in the same year. Um, Newstown are competing at a really high level. Bars have been in uh, multiple finals with multiple players playing for either Castlehaven or themselves in football and Bars for the hurling. But there's an awful lot of clubs that completely discourage players from playing both codes, which I think is not in what the ethos of the GA is about. Um, and I think when you think most clubs, like there's only going to be one team can win any championship. So let's just say if you're in Cork and hurling and you're in a 12-team championship, there's only one team going to win it. The other 11 then don't win it. Why would those other 11 clubs not make an effort to try to win the opposite code? So I'll use Kill as an example, senior A hurling, junior A football. And why would the players not just try to win both and do as well as they can? But there's this thing that, oh, we need to focus more on that. We're missing, all the lads down the road are doing 6 hurling sessions. We're only doing three. And you go, yeah, but you're doing 3 football sessions as well. And there's a huge amount of crossover benefits of doing that as opposed to just focusing on the one code. Um, so it's something as clubs, I think there needs to be a bit more leadership from club executives, chairmans, committees and stuff like that, and being able to allow both codes to breed. I think that if a child plays hurling football the whole way up as a child and a youth, why aren't they given the allowance to do so further up? So I mentioned a couple of clubs in Cork. There's obviously clubs in other counties I'm familiar with. Like in Armagh, you've got Middletown won the senior hurling. I think they're in an intermediate football final as well. You know, they help each other out. Now people go, "Well, you'll find things, and I'm finding examples of why I think it's important. You could also find examples of why it's not. So you've got like we'll use Bandon, who I kind of club I'm familiar with. Um, they're in a hurling final this year, but they got relegated from football. A lot of dual players. For my another club, the senior A hurling got relegated in football, senior A football. So you can see how difficult or people can pull out and go, oh, look, those clubs have done both dual players, and look what happened to them. Well, what they're doing is they're just finding their level. And there's no harm, there's nothing wrong with being relegated if you're not good enough for the grade. People think that, oh, like the most important thing is consolidation, consolidation. Maybe it's not. Like, again, I'll use my own club as an example. We haven't been in a county final since we won the intermediate in 2001. And that's 25 years now since county final. And I'm there going, I was at a county final of Kilbrittain last week, who won their junior, to beat Glen Rovers. And Glen Rovers, and I know this is their second team, but Glen Rovers have the Downies playing for St. Nick's and they're in a county final. So how come these inter-county players can now all of a sudden play both codes? And we got club players in other clubs who have just been cocooned all year, only to play one code or encouraged to play one code. Um, Kilbrittain got to West Cork's football semi final, lost by a point after extra time. They made an effort in football. The hurling benefited. And yeah, if they get relegated, if they go get relegated from the hurling next year and the football, they do whatever they do, all they're doing is they're finding their level. And we can consolidate by focusing on one thing, on one code. If you go, right, look, we have to stay whatever grade we're in. We're going to concentrate on that now this year because that's the higher grade, that's the priority. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And what if you do get relegated, at least you're going to be competitive at the next grade rather than just fighting and scrimping and scraping just to stay where you are. Um, so all I'm going to say is that if your club aren't doing hurling and football at a serious level or a semi-serious level, ask the question, why not? Why aren't these players being allowed and encouraged to go out and play and try to be as competitive on as many fronts as they can, as opposed to focusing on one, which in reality they have a 1 in 12 chance in all the croc competitions, 1 in 16 in other competition, other counties. Have to be real and have to look at the bigger picture of what's best for the players, what's best for the individuals. And I saw it at my own club. Once the senior hurling was finished, a number of those players came back and made themselves available for football. Not because of, oh, we owed a club, it's because they wanted to play. So I want these mentors to come into clubs and say, "Oh no, we have to concentrate on this." Look, if you're doing half hurling, half football, forget about it. I'm not coaching you. That's great. Say good luck to that person. Get the person that's willing to do what the club want to do, not what the outside manager or the outside coach tells you what to do. Um, because at the end of the day, the club, the longevity, what's going to be there in 10 years' time is far more important than the next 12 months, the next 24 months. So